Life is either a daring adventure or nothing. Helen Keller. I am not discouraged because every wrong attempt discarded is another step forward. Thomas Edison. Deep within man dwell those slumbering powers, powers that would astonish him, that he never dreamed of possessing, forces that would revolutionize his life if aroused and put into action. Orison Swett Marden. We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts we make our world. The Buddha.
Beliefs are what make the difference between a lifetime of joyous contribution and one of misery and devastation. Beliefs are what separate a Mother Teresa from a Charles Manson. Beliefs are what cause some individuals to become heroes, while others lead lives of quiet desperation. See, the power of beliefs is virtually unlimited. Our beliefs can literally create or destroy. Beliefs are not merely matters of emotion or action. They can literally change our bodies in a matter of moments. Remember, you get whatever you focus on in life. If you keep focusing on what you don't want, you'll just get more of it. Change that focus. Decide what you do want. The more specific you can be about it, the more clarity you'll have and the more power you'll command to achieve what you want more rapidly. At the same time, we need to learn what's preventing us from having what we do want. What's preventing us from making the changes is that we link more pain to making the change than staying where we are. If you're really going to change, then you've got to change these associations. You've got to knock the supports out from under these disempowering beliefs. Change is not a question of capability. It's a question of motivation. If someone put a gun to your head and said, you better get out of that depressed state and start feeling happy now, I'll bet you could find a way to change your emotional state for the moment, couldn't you? But the problem for most of us, most of the time, is that change doesn't feel like it's a must. It feels like something we should do, something that we ought to do, we'd like to do someday, not something we absolutely must do right now without waiting another second. And that's the problem. See, the only way we're going to make a change now is if we create a sense of urgency that's so intense that we're compelled to follow through right now, in this moment. If we want to create change, then we have to realize that it's not a question of whether we can do it, it's a question of whether we will do it. See, whether we will do it comes down to a matter of motivation. Down once again to those twin pillars that shape our lives, pain and pleasure. To get true leverage, ask yourself pain-inducing questions. Questions like, what will this cost me if I don't change? What will I miss out in my life if I don't make this shift now? What's it already costing me mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially, and spiritually in my life? See, the key here is make the pain of not changing so real, so intense, that you can't put off taking action any longer. Then start using pleasure-associating questions to help you link those positive feelings to the idea of changing so you really want it. Ask questions like, if I do change, how will that make me feel about myself? What kind of momentum could I create if I change this in my life right now? What other things could I accomplish if I really made this change today? How will my family and friends feel? How much happier will I be? See, the key is to get lots of reasons, or better yet, strong enough reasons to change what you're doing right now immediately, not someday in the future. If you're not driven to make the change now, then you don't have enough leverage. It's that simple. Have you decided what you really want to change? What do you really want in your life? Have you figured out what's been preventing you? And have you made it painful enough you must change and pleasurable enough that you must change because you want to? If so, then let's move on to the next step. Because now what you've done so far is you've linked pain in your nervous system to not changing and pleasure to making the change. See, in order to get new results in our lives, it's not enough to just know what we want and get leverage on ourselves. You see, we can be highly motivated to change, but if we keep doing the same things, running the same inappropriate, disempowering patterns, our lives are not going to change, and all we're going to experience is more pain, more frustration. One of the best ways to interrupt your own pattern, or somebody else's for that matter, is to do something that a person doesn't expect. Things that are radically different than they've experienced before, or do this to yourself. For example, when I did private therapy with people would come in to see me and they'd sit down in my office and they'd start to say, my problem is, and then they'd start to burst into tears out of control. I would suddenly stand up and shout, excuse me, and I would just jolt them. And I'd follow up with, we haven't started yet. Usually they responded with disbelief and they'd say, I'm so sorry. And they'd immediately regain control, which proved that they already knew how to change the way they feel. Think of some of the ways that you can interrupt your own patterns. Do you need to do something differently? Some weird action? Would a word, some weird new word, break your pattern? Would a change of scenery, a silly laugh, a disgusting noise? Take a moment and think up some of the most enjoyable and disruptive ways you can interrupt your limiting and destructive patterns. Those patterns of being frustrated or worried or overwhelmed, for example. See, next time you start to feel depressed, jump up, look at the sky, and yell in your most idiotic tone of voice, "Hallelujah, my feet don't stink today." See, a stupid, silly move like this will definitely shift your attention, change your state, and it'll definitely change the states of anyone around you. They'll realize that you're no longer depressed, you're just crazy. Make sure that the change will be long-term and that your conditioning has been effective. Imagine the thing that would have triggered you to adopt the old pattern, to feel bad, to overreact, or to smoke or drink or whatever. And notice now, do you feel certain that you'll use the new pattern instead of the old one? If you do, your ecology check is complete, and you can be certain the pattern will support you from now on.
You've now learned techniques for making decisions that will shape your life, for taking control of the belief structure that determines how you feel and act, and for creating real and lasting change. Now, Anthony Robbins will take you on the final leg of this journey, the creation of your future, your magnificent obsession.
Nothing happens unless first a dream. Carl Sandburg. We are what and where we are because we have first imagined it. Donald Curtis. There is nothing like a dream to create the future. Utopia today, flesh and blood tomorrow. Victor Hugo.
Are you ready now to have some fun? Are you willing to be like a kid again and let your imagination run wild? Are you committed to grabbing hold of your life and squeezing from it all the power, passion, and juice you know can be yours? Many people in life know what they should do, but they never do it. The reason is that they're lacking the drive that only a compelling future can provide. This is your opportunity now to let go and dream at the highest level, to brainstorm something that will really push your life to the next level. What we're going to do now is we're going to help you to create the energy and momentum that causes you to want to take action consistently. Often people tell me, well, my problem is that I really don't have any goals. This belief demonstrates their lack of understanding of how goals really work. The human mind is always pursuing something, if nothing more than the ability to reduce or eliminate pain or avoid anything that would lead to it. Our brains also love to guide us in pursuing anything that can lead to pleasure. So we all have goals. The problem, as I've said before in this program, is that we're unconscious in the use of our resources. Most people's goals are to, quote, pay the lousy bills, or to get by, or to survive, or get out of debt, or make it through the day, make the relationship a little better, get a better job. In short, they're caught up in the trap of making a living rather than designing a life. Remember that our goals affect us, whatever they are. If we don't consciously plant the seeds of what we want in the gardens of our minds, we'll end up with weeds. If we want to discover the unlimited possibilities within us, we must find a goal big enough and grand enough to challenge us to push beyond our limits and discover our true potential. Remember that your current conditions do not reflect your ultimate potential, but rather the size and the quality of the goals upon which you're currently focusing. We all must discover or create a magnificent obsession. You might be thinking right now, well, this all sounds so inspirational, but surely setting a goal doesn't make it happen. You know what? I couldn't agree with you more. All goal setting must immediately be followed by the development of a plan and with massive and consistent action towards its fulfillment. You already have this power to act. If you haven't been able to summon it, at least up until now, it's merely because you failed to set goals that inspire you. What's holding you back? Do you have a list of clearly defined goals for the results that you will absolutely produce in your life, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and financially? If not, what stopped you? What has stopped some people is the unconscious fear of disappointment. Is that true for you? See, a lot of people have set goals in the past and they failed to achieve them, so they stop setting goals to avoid the pain. Many people give up too soon on their goals because they're not getting the immediate positive feedback they think they need. One of the consistent skills I've seen in champions, people who really achieve their highest desires, is this unbelievable level of persistence. They'll change their approach as many times as necessary, but they won't abandon their ultimate vision.